Jake Morrison sat at his computer desk in his small apartment in Portland and looked around at the mess he called home. Empty pizza boxes sat on the kitchen counter next to dirty dishes that had been there for 3 days. Clean clothes mixed with dirty ones on his bedroom floor, and he could not remember the last time he had vacuumed the carpet. At 28 years old, Jake worked as a software engineer for a tech company downtown and spent most of his time writing code from his home office. He made good money but had no time or energy left for keeping his place clean. That morning, Jake had finally reached his breaking point when he stepped on a piece of old cereal that crunched under his bare foot. He grabbed his laptop and went straight to the Megacorp Industries website where he had seen ads for their new domestic service robots. The premium model cost $3,000, but Jake figured it was worth every penny, if it meant he could come home to a clean apartment. Every day, the robot had advanced cleaning systems that could handle any mess and could even cook basic meals using pre-programmed recipes. Jake read through all the features twice before clicking the buy button. The website said delivery would happen within 1 week, and Jake felt excited for the first time in months about the state of his living space. Megacorp sent him a confirmation email that said his domestic service robot would arrive on Tuesday morning between 9 and 11. Jake planned to work from home that day so he could be there to receive the delivery and set up his new mechanical helper. He spent the weekend clearing paths through his apartment so the delivery team could bring in the large robot unit without tripping over his scattered belongings. Tuesday morning came and Jake sat at his desk writing code for a new mobile app while he waited for the doorbell to ring. He had cleared space in his living room where the robot could set up its charging station and storage area for cleaning supplies. Jake imagined coming home each evening to find his dishes clean, his floors spotless, and maybe even a hot meal waiting for him. At 10:30, the doorbell finally rang, and Jake jumped up from his chair with excitement. He walked quickly to the front door and looked through the peephole, expecting to see delivery workers with a large box containing his robot. Instead, he saw a young woman standing alone on his doorstep holding what looked like a small metal device in her hands. Jake opened the door and stared at the woman in confusion. She appeared to be in her early 20s with unusual silver-colored hair that seemed to shine even in the morning light. Her eyes were the brightest blue Jake had ever seen, and they seemed to glow slightly as she looked at him. She wore simple gray clothing that looked clean and well-fitted, but nothing like any uniform Jake recognized. The woman spoke first in a voice that sounded normal except for a slight accent Jake could not place. She said her name was Zara and that she had been assigned to household maintenance duties for Jake Morrison. Jake looked past her expecting to see a delivery truck or van parked outside, but the street appeared empty except for the usual neighborhood cars. Jake told Zara that there must be some mistake because he had ordered a robot from Megacorp Industries, not a human cleaning service. Zara looked down at her metal device and touched it with one finger while her face showed what appeared to be genuine confusion. She looked back up at Jake and insisted that her assignment was correct and that she must fulfill her contract obligations for his household. Jake wondered if Megacorp had decided to send a human worker instead of the robot he ordered, maybe as some kind of trial program or because they ran out of robot units. He invited Zara inside so they could figure out what had happened and he could call the company to sort out the confusion. Once inside his apartment, Zara immediately began examining the living space with what Jake noticed were very precise eye movements, almost like she was scanning everything and taking measurements. She moved through his apartment with unusual grace, never bumping into furniture or stepping on any of the items scattered on the floor. Jake watched her with growing curiosity as she seemed to glide rather than walk normally. "Zara," asked Jake where he kept his cleaning supplies, and he pointed to a small closet near the kitchen. She opened the closet and looked at his basic collection of spray bottles and paper towels with what appeared to be mild disappointment. Zara told Jake that she would make do with what was available and immediately began organizing his apartment with incredible efficiency. Jake sat back down at his computer to continue working, but found himself watching Zara instead of focusing on his code. She moved through his apartment like someone following a detailed blueprint, cleaning and organizing everything in a specific order that seemed to make perfect sense. Her movements were so smooth and precise that Jake began to wonder if she had some kind of special training. Within 2 hours, Zara had transformed Jake's living room from a disaster zone into a space that looked better than it had since the day he moved in. She somehow managed to clean areas that Jake thought were impossible to reach and arranged his books and electronics in ways that were both practical and pleasing to look at. Jake offered to make her some coffee or get her a snack, but Zara politely declined, saying that she processed nutrients differently than most people. As the afternoon continued, Jake tried several times to call Megacorp customer service but kept getting busy signals or being put on hold for long periods. Zara continued working throughout his apartment with tireless energy, never seeming to need a break or showing any signs of fatigue. Jake found this impressive but also slightly strange, since even the most dedicated workers usually needed to rest occasionally. By evening, Jake's apartment looked completely different, and he felt amazed at how much Zara had accomplished in just one day. He told her that she was welcome to stay overnight while he sorted out the situation with Megacorp in the morning. Zara accepted his offer but said she would need very little space and would not require any food or bedding. Jake went to bed that night feeling confused but grateful for the unexpected help, not knowing that his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. Jake woke up the next morning to the smell of fresh coffee and something that smelled like pancakes coming from his kitchen. He walked out of his bedroom and found Zara standing at his stove, flipping what looked like perfect golden pancakes while coffee brewed in his machine. Jake felt confused because he was certain he did not have any pancake ingredients in his kitchen the night before. Zara turned to face him with a smile and told him that breakfast was almost ready. Jake asked where she had gotten the ingredients, and Zara pointed to his pantry, saying she had found everything she needed. Jake looked in his pantry and discovered that it was now perfectly organized with items he did not remember buying, including fresh eggs, flour, and milk that had not been there yesterday. Jake decided to worry about the mysterious food later and instead called Megacorp customer service while eating the surprisingly delicious pancakes. After waiting on hold for 20 minutes, he finally reached a representative who checked his order and confirmed that his domestic service robot was still being assembled and would not arrive for another week. The representative had no record of any human employee being sent to Jake's address and seemed confused by his questions. After ending the call, Jake felt more puzzled than before but decided to observe Zara more carefully throughout the day to figure out what was really happening. He sat at his computer pretending to work while actually watching Zara clean his home office with the same incredible efficiency she had shown the day before. Zara moved through the room, touching papers and equipment with what appeared to be scientific curiosity rather than the casual familiarity of a normal cleaning person. She organized his computer cables in patterns that looked almost mathematical and arranged his books by subject matter, even though Jake had never told her what topics they covered. When she thought Jake was not looking, she would occasionally touch her small metal device and stare at it with a worried expression. Around noon, Jake accidentally knocked his favorite ceramic coffee mug off his desk and watched it shatter into several pieces on the floor. He started to get up to clean the mess, but Zara was already kneeling beside the broken pieces before Jake could even stand up. She picked up each fragment and examined them carefully, like someone studying an interesting puzzle. Jake expected Zara to throw the pieces away and maybe offer to buy him a new mug, but instead she held the fragments in her hands and touched her metal device with one finger. Jake watched in amazement as the broken pieces seemed to flow back together like liquid, reforming into his original mug without any visible cracks or damage. The mug looked exactly as it had before breaking, showing no signs that it had ever been damaged. Jake stared at the repaired mug and asked Zara how she had done that. Zara looked uncomfortable and said it was standard repair protocol before quickly changing the subject and returning to her cleaning tasks. Jake picked up the mug and examined it closely but could find no evidence of any repair work or special glue that might explain what he had witnessed. That afternoon, Jake's elderly neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, knocked on his door to ask if everything was okay. because she had seen strange lights coming from his apartment the night before. Jake assured her that everything was fine, but felt concerned about what Mrs. Patterson might have seen. He asked Zara about the lights, and she admitted that she had been calibrating her systems during the night but promised to be more discreet in the future. Jake pressed Zara for more details about what she meant by calibrating systems, but she became evasive and said only that it was necessary for her to maintain optimal performance levels. Jake noticed that whenever he asked direct questions about her background or abilities, Zara would find reasons to change the subject or move to a different room to continue her work. Curious about Zara's unusual capabilities, Jake decided to test her in small ways throughout the afternoon. He mentioned that he was struggling with a complex mathematical problem for his work, and Zara immediately provided the correct solution without using a calculator or even appearing to think about it. When Jake asked her to help him move his heavy bookshelf, she lifted one end by herself with no apparent effort, even though the shelf was filled with books and should have required two strong people to move. Jake also noticed that his electronic devices seemed to respond differently when Zara was nearby. His computer ran faster than usual, his internet connection seemed more stable, and his smartphone battery stayed fully charged even though he had been using it heavily all day. When Jake asked Zara about this, she claimed not to know what he was talking about, but Jake caught her glancing at her metal device when she thought he was not watching. As evening approached, Jake felt both fascinated and concerned about the mysterious woman who had appeared at his door. Zara clearly possessed abilities that no normal human should have, but she seemed reluctant to explain anything about herself or where she had come from. Jake wondered if she might be some kind of advanced android sent by a competitor company, or perhaps a government agent testing new technology. Jake decided to confront Zara directly about her true identity. He sat down across from her in his living room and told her that he knew she was not a normal cleaning person and that he wanted honest answers about who she really was and what she was doing in his apartment. Zara looked down at her metal device for a long moment before meeting his eyes with what appeared to be genuine distress. Zara told Jake that she was not human but refused to explain further, saying that additional information would only complicate the situation for both of them. She admitted that she was stranded and unable to contact her supervisors, but insisted that she meant no harm to Jake or anyone else. Zara said she genuinely needed to fulfill her assignment to maintain his household while she figured out how to resolve her current predicament. Jake felt his mind racing with possibilities about what Zara might actually be and where she could have come from. He realized that nothing about her presence made sense according to any normal explanation, but he also felt certain that she was telling the truth about not wanting to cause harm. Jake decided to let her stay while he tried to understand the incredible situation he had found himself in, not knowing that his decision would soon change everything he thought he knew about the world. 3 days passed, and Jake found himself unable to concentrate on his work as he watched Zara continue her impossible tasks around his apartment. She had reorganized his entire living space with mathematical precision and seemed to anticipate his needs before he even realized what he wanted. Jake's curiosity finally overcame his caution, and he decided he needed real answers, regardless of how strange they might be. That evening, Jake sat Zara down in his living room and told her that he would not accept any more vague explanations about her identity or abilities. He said he had seen enough impossible things to know that she was definitely not human, and that he deserved to know the truth about what was happening in his own home. Zara looked at her metal device for a long moment before sighing deeply and meeting his eyes with a serious expression. Zara told Jake that her real name was Zara Velvises and that she belonged to a species called Cytherians who came from a planet many light years away from Earth. She explained that her people had been secretly studying human civilization for over 50 years, carefully observing how humans lived and developed their technology and society. Jake felt his mind struggling to process this information, but forced himself to listen as Zara continued her explanation. The Cytherians operated what Zara described as a vast network of research stations throughout the galaxy where they studied different developing species to better understand how civilizations grew and changed over time. Zara had been part of a cultural exchange program designed to give Cytherian researchers direct experience with human domestic life and social structures. By living among humans for extended periods, Zara explained that she was supposed to have been transported to a secret research facility hidden somewhere in the mountains of Colorado, where other Cytherian agents would have briefed her on her mission and provided her with a complete human identity. However, something had gone wrong with her transport pod's navigation system, and she had instead materialized near Jake's apartment building, just as the delivery truck was supposed to arrive with his robot. Jake asked about the metal device Zara always carried, and she showed it to him more closely. She explained that it was a universal translator and communication array that allowed her to speak human languages and stay in contact with her people. The device had been damaged during her unplanned arrival on Earth and was now only partially functional, which explained why she had been unable to contact her supervisors or call for help. Zara told Jake that Cytherians had been subtly influencing human technological development for decades, making small adjustments to ensure that humanity progressed along a peaceful path rather than developing weapons that could threaten other species. She said her people had strict rules about not interfering directly with human society, but that her current situation had created a serious problem that violated several interstellar agreements. Jake felt overwhelmed by everything Zara was telling him, but found that it explained all the strange things he had observed about her behavior and abilities. He asked why Cytherians were so interested in humans, and Zara explained that most species in the galaxy developed technology much faster than they developed wisdom, leading to wars and destruction that wiped out entire civilizations before they could reach the stars. Humans were unusual because they seemed to develop emotional intelligence and social cooperation at roughly the same pace as their technology, which made them potentially valuable as future members of the galactic community. Zara said her people wanted to understand what made humans different so they could help other developing species follow a similar path toward peaceful advancement. Jake asked what would happen if other Cytherians discovered that Zara was stranded on Earth, and she explained that her people would likely take drastic action to retrieve her and cover up any evidence of alien contact. She said this could involve erasing the memories of any humans who had interacted with her or even relocating entire groups of people to maintain the secret of Cytherian presence in the galaxy. Zara also warned Jake that other alien species were aware of Cytherian research activities and actively hunted for signs of their presence throughout the galaxy. She said there were aggressive civilizations that viewed both Cytherians and their research subjects as threats to their own expansion plans and would not hesitate to attack Earth if they discovered evidence of Cytherian protection. Jake realized that Zara's presence in his apartment had potentially put not just him but all of humanity in danger. He asked why she had told him the truth instead of maintaining her human disguise, and Zara said she had grown to trust him over the past few days and felt guilty about lying to someone who had shown her such kindness. Zara explained that Cytherian society was very different from human culture, focused entirely on logic and scientific advancement with little room for the emotional connections that humans seem to value so highly. She admitted that she had volunteered for the Earth assignment partly because she found human unpredictability and emotional complexity fascinating compared to the sterile environment of her homeworld. Jake asked if there was any way to repair Zara's communication device so she could contact her people and return home safely. Zara said the device required specific materials that did not exist naturally on Earth, including crystalline structures that could only be formed under the gravitational conditions found near certain types of stars. She had been trying to find alternative materials but had not been successful. Jake suggested that they might be able to create the needed materials using Earth technology combined with Zara's knowledge of Cytherian science. Zara looked surprised by this suggestion and said she had not considered the possibility of human technology being advanced enough to help with Cytherian equipment, but admitted it might be worth attempting. Jake felt excited by the challenge of helping Zara repair her device and return home, not realizing that their collaboration would soon attract attention from forces far more dangerous than either of them had imagined. He told Zara that he would do whatever he could to help her while keeping both of them safe from the consequences of her accidental arrival on Earth. Zara smiled for the first time, since Jake had known her and thanked him for his willingness to help someone from another world. She said that human kindness and cooperation were exactly the qualities that made her people believe humanity deserved protection and guidance as they developed into a spacefaring civilization. Jake realized that his simple desire for a clean apartment had somehow made him part of an interstellar situation that could affect the future of his entire species. But he felt determined to help Zara while learning as much as possible about the wider universe that existed beyond Earth. Over the following 2 weeks, Jake and Zara worked together every evening trying to repair her communication device using a combination of Earth technology and Cytherian science. Jake had purchased various electronic components and rare metals, using his savings while Zara guided him through complex procedures that seemed to bend the laws of physics in ways Jake had never imagined possible. During their work sessions, Zara told Jake stories about other worlds she had visited and the different species that existed throughout the galaxy. She described planets with purple skies and silver oceans, civilizations that lived in massive city ships floating through space, and ancient races that had transcended physical form entirely. Jake found these stories fascinating and began to understand how small and isolated Earth really was in the vast universe. Zara also shared details about Cytherian society, and Jake learned that her people faced serious challenges despite their advanced technology. The Cytherian population had been declining for centuries due to low birth rates and increasing social isolation as individuals became more focused on scientific research than personal relationships. Zara admitted that she had volunteered for the Earth assignment partly to escape what she described as the emotional emptiness of her homeworld. Jake found himself growing closer to Zara as they spent long hours working together and talking about their different worlds and experiences. He admired her intelligence and curiosity while she seemed fascinated by human emotions and the way Jake approached problems with creativity rather than pure logic. Jake began to realize that he was developing feelings for Zara that went far beyond simple friendship. Zara told Jake that she found human unpredictability and emotional complexity refreshing compared to the rigid structure of Cytherian society. She said that Cytherians made decisions based entirely on logical analysis, while humans seemed to use intuition and emotion in ways that often led to better outcomes than pure reason would suggest. Jake felt proud that humanity possessed qualities that even an advanced alien civilization found valuable. Their peaceful collaboration was interrupted when strange events began occurring throughout Portland and the surrounding area. Electronic devices started malfunctioning in unusual patterns, with smartphones losing signal simultaneously across different neighborhoods and computer networks, experiencing synchronized crashes that had no apparent technical cause. Jake noticed these events but did not initially connect them to Zara's presence. Zara became increasingly worried as the electronic anomalies continued and explained to Jake that these were signs of Cytherian search protocols being activated. She said her people were using advanced scanning techniques to locate her position, but that their methods were accidentally interfering with Earth's electronic infrastructure. Zara feared that the obvious nature of these disturbances would soon attract attention from human authorities. Jake watched news reports about the electronic problems and noticed that government officials were beginning to investigate what they called unexplained electromagnetic phenomena. Scientists appeared on television offering theories about solar flares and atmospheric disturbances, but Jake could see that they had no real understanding of what was causing the problems. Zara received partial signals on her damaged communication device indicating that a Cytherian rescue team was approaching Earth, but could not pinpoint her exact location due to interference from the planet's magnetic field. She explained that her people were being extremely careful to avoid detection, but that their search efforts were becoming more obvious as they grew more urgent to locate her. Jake realized that they were running out of time to complete the repairs on Zara's device before either human authorities or the Cytherian rescue team discovered their location. He suggested that they accelerate their work by using more powerful Earth technology. Even if it meant taking greater risks with the delicate alien components, the situation became critical when Jake noticed unmarked government vehicles parked on his street and men in suits asking his neighbors questions about unusual activities in the area. Jake realized that federal agents were investigating the electronic anomalies and getting closer to discovering Zara's presence in his apartment. Jake told Zara about the government surveillance, and she confirmed his fears by explaining that human authorities would likely detain her for study if they discovered her true identity. She said that Cytherian policy required her people to take extreme measures to prevent alien technology from falling into human hands, which could result in memory alteration or relocation of entire populations to maintain secrecy. Zara also warned Jake that the electronic disturbances caused by Cytherian search protocols might attract attention from hostile alien species that monitored Earth for signs of outside interference. She described a faction called the Void Collective that actively hunted for evidence of Cytherian activity and would view any contact between Cytherians and humans as a threat to their own expansion plans. Jake felt the weight of responsibility for both Zara's safety and potentially the future of humanity as he realized that their situation had implications far beyond what he had originally understood. He told Zara that he refused to let her face these dangers alone and that they needed to find a solution that would protect both her and Earth from the consequences of her accidental arrival. Zara looked at Jake with what appeared to be genuine affection and told him that human loyalty and courage were exactly the qualities that made her people believe humanity deserved protection and guidance. She said that most species would have turned her over to authorities or tried to exploit her knowledge for personal gain, but Jake had instead offered help without asking for anything in return. Jake suggested that instead of waiting for either the government agents or the rescue team to find them, they should take control of the situation by amplifying Zara's communication device using Earth's satellite network to send a clear signal directly to her people. The plan was extremely risky and would certainly attract attention from multiple sources, but Jake argued that it might be their only chance to resolve the crisis on their own terms. Zara agreed to attempt Jake's plan despite the dangers involved, saying that she trusted his judgment and creativity more than she trusted either human authorities or even her own people to handle the situation properly. She warned Jake that their actions could have consequences that neither of them could predict, but admitted that all their other options seemed worse. Jake spent that night preparing for what he knew would be the most important and dangerous thing he had ever attempted, not knowing that their bold plan would soon attract attention from forces far more powerful and threatening than either the human government or Zara's rescue team. Jake and Zara worked through the night, connecting her communication device to his computer and then linking the system to Portland's main internet hub using Jake's software engineering skills and several illegal hacking techniques he had learned in college but never used. Zara provided the technical knowledge needed to modify Earth's satellite network while Jake handled the complex programming required to amplify her device's signal beyond what either technology could achieve alone. At 3 a.m, they finally activated their improvised communication system and successfully established contact with the Cytherian rescue team that had been searching for Zara throughout the solar system. Jake listened to Zara speaking in her own language, which sounded like musical tones combined with mathematical equations, while her face showed relief for the first time since her arrival on Earth. However, their success was short-lived because the powerful signal they had created also attracted immediate attention from the hostile aliens that Zara had warned Jake about. Within minutes of establishing contact with her rescue team, Zara's device began receiving signals from what she identified as Void collective scout ships that had detected the Cytherian transmission and were now approaching Earth at incredible speed. Zara explained to Jake that the Void Collective was an aggressive alliance of species that viewed both Cytherians and their protected civilizations as obstacles to their goal of conquering and absorbing all other forms of life in the galaxy. She said these beings had been hunting for evidence of Cytherian activity for years and would see Earth's contact with her people as proof that humanity was already under alien protection. Jake watched in horror as Zara showed him sensor readings indicating that 3 Void Collective ships were entering Earth's atmosphere and beginning to probe the planet's defenses. She explained that these scouts would report back to a larger invasion fleet if they determined that Earth was valuable enough to conquer, or if they found evidence of significant Cytherian presence. Zara told Jake that she had to leave Earth immediately to draw the Void Collective away from the planet before they decided to launch a full-scale attack. She said her rescue team could extract her quickly, but that the hostile aliens would likely follow her people and leave Earth alone once they realized the Cytherian presence was temporary rather than permanent. Jake refused to let Zara sacrifice herself to protect Earth and instead proposed a desperate plan based on his understanding of human psychology and Zara's knowledge of alien behavior. He suggested that they broadcast a message throughout the galaxy portraying Earth as already under official Cytherian protection, making it appear that any attack on humanity would result in immediate retaliation from the entire Cytherian fleet. Zara initially rejected Jake's idea as too dangerous, because it would be a complete bluff that could backfire catastrophically if the Void Collective decided to test human defenses. However, Jake argued that the alternative was either Zara's capture or a Void Collective invasion that would destroy human civilization. So they had nothing to lose by attempting the deception. Working together, Jake and Zara modified their communication system to broadcast on frequencies used by multiple alien species throughout the galaxy. Jake helped Zara craft a message that claimed Earth was under direct Cytherian oversight and that any interference with human development would be considered an act of war against the entire Cytherian Empire. Their bluff worked partially as the Void Collective scouts retreated to a safe distance while they contacted their command structure to reassess the situation. Jake and Zara had bought time, but they knew the deception would not hold once the hostile aliens conducted more thorough scans of Earth's actual defenses and realized that no Cytherian military presence existed anywhere in the solar system. When the Cytherian rescue team finally arrived, they found Jake and Zara defending Earth from alien invasion using nothing but creativity and courage. The team leader, a stern individual named Commander Vel, initially seemed angry about the unauthorized contact and the attention it had attracted from hostile forces throughout the galaxy. However, Commander Vel's attitude changed as Jake explained their actions and demonstrated the ingenuity he had shown in solving problems that had stumped both human and Cytherian experts. The commander became particularly interested when Jake described his plan to protect Earth through diplomatic deception rather than military force, calling it a uniquely human approach to interstellar conflict. Commander Vel told Jake and Zara that their situation had created an unprecedented diplomatic opportunity because the Void Collective's attention had already exposed Earth to galactic politics centuries before humanity was supposed to make official contact with alien civilizations. The commander said that traditional Cytherian policy would require erasing all evidence of alien contact and relocating anyone who had gained knowledge of extraterrestrial life. However, Jake's resourcefulness and the bond he had formed with Zara had impressed the Cytherian leadership enough to consider an alternative approach that had never been attempted before. Commander Vel proposed that Jake could accompany Zara to the Cytherian homeworld as Earth's first official ambassador while Zara remained as humanity's permanent liaison and protector. This arrangement would satisfy interstellar law by making the alien contact official rather than accidental while allowing Jake and Zara to continue their relationship within a legitimate diplomatic framework. Commander Vel explained that Earth would be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Federation with Cytherian sponsorship, giving humanity protection from hostile species while they developed the technology needed for space travel. Jake realized that accepting the commander's offer would mean leaving Earth and everything he had known, but he also understood that this opportunity could secure humanity's future among the stars. He looked at Zara and saw that she was hoping he would agree to the plan, even though she had not asked him to make such a massive sacrifice for her sake. Jake made his decision quickly, telling Commander Vel that he would be honored to serve as Earth's ambassador and to help build a relationship between humanity and the galactic community. He said that meeting Zara had shown him how much more existed beyond Earth, and that he wanted to be part of humanity's journey to the stars. Commander Vel arranged for Jake to bring recordings and cultural artifacts that would help other species understand human civilization, while Zara would establish a permanent research station on Earth disguised as a technology consulting company. Jake packed his most precious belongings, including photos of his family and friends, along with music and literature that represented the best of human creativity. As Jake prepared to leave Earth aboard a Catherian ship that existed beyond anything human science could imagine, he reflected on how his simple desire for a clean apartment had led to the most important moment in human history. He realized that his willingness to help a stranded alien had opened the door for his entire species to join a vast community of civilizations among the stars. Jake and Zara departed Earth together, knowing that they were beginning an adventure that would change both their lives and the future of humanity itself. Behind them, they left a world that was no longer alone in the universe, protected by alien friends and ready to take its first steps toward becoming a spacefaring civilization that would someday stand as equals among the stars.